Imagine you wake up one morning, and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind whispers a quiet sentence. I can't do this anymore. It's faint, almost invisible, but it's there. Floating beneath your breath like fog, you push yourself up anyway. You put on the same clothes, make the same coffee, and walk into the same world that never seems to care how heavy your heart feels. And as the day unfolds, the smallest things begin to hurt. A message left unread, a mistake at work, a goal that suddenly feels unreachable, and deep inside, that voice, soft but persistent, keeps whispering, maybe I'm just not strong enough. We've all been there. Moments when life feels like it's pushing us face first into the dirt, testing our breaking point. Moments when we wonder if all that effort, all that grinding, even matters at all. When we replay our failures like a film we can't turn off, thinking, why does this always happen to me? That's when you start to feel small, not because the world is cruel, but because your mind, your greatest weapon, turns against you. You see others rise, others win, and you convince yourself they must have something you don't. You tell yourself that maybe they were born tougher, colder, stronger. But here's the truth. Most people will never tell you mental strength isn't born, it's built, and the building hurts. You don't become strong because life is kind to you. You become strong because life breaks you. And you learn how to stand back up anyway. That's the part no one claps for. The unseen battles, the nights when you argue with your own reflection, the mornings when you put on your armor of routine just to survive the day. Mental strength doesn't grow from comfort. It grows from pressure, from struggle, from every silent moment when no one's watching, and you still decide to move forward. But most people never get there, because every time they fall, they think falling means losing. They confuse pain with defeat, and so they quit before they even begin to build the muscle that could save them. They give up when life asks them to endure. They choose comfort when the test arrives, and that's why they never develop the mind that can weather any storm. Let me tell you a secret. Every strong person you admire has been broken. Michael Jordan cried in his locker room when he was cut from his high school basketball team. Serena Williams lost tournaments where the whole world doubted her. Elon Musk was told his rockets would never fly, but they did something you might have forgotten how to do. They stayed in the fight long enough for the pain to turn into power. They didn't let emotion control their execution. They didn't let failure define their identity. They understood something simple but brutal. You can't build an unbreakable mind if you run from the weight that's meant to shape it. Still, most of us don't live like that. We live on edge, addicted to ease, allergic to pressure. We call stress toxic and pain unnecessary. But pressure is what forges steel. You don't strengthen a sword by protecting it. You strengthen it by heating, folding, and hammering it again and again until it becomes unbreakable. And your mind is no different. Every day, life hands you a hammer. It comes disguised as rejection, as failure, as loss. And every day, you get to decide, will this break me, or will it forge me? Most people never ask that question. They let life decide for them. They let every minor defeat turn into a full surrender. They turn pain into identity, and slowly they lose the will to fight. That's why you see so many people walking through life like ghosts, breathing, working, scrolling, existing, but not living, because their mind was never trained to carry the weight of being alive. Mental strength isn't about pretending you're fine. It's not about bottling your emotions or forcing a smile. It's about resilience born from awareness, knowing that pain is temporary, but surrender is forever. It's the art of staying centered when everything around you tries to pull you apart. It's the decision to stay composed when chaos invites you to crumble. It's choosing discipline over drama, growth over comfort, progress over pity. It's when you stop asking, why me, and start saying, try me. But the truth is, we weren't raised for this. We were raised to chase instant gratification, to seek comfort like it's safety, to confuse peace with avoidance, to call distraction self-care. And so, we crumble the moment. Life stops being soft. We panic when we're alone with our thoughts. We run to noise, to validation, to escape. We scroll instead of sitting still. We numb instead of healing. And we wonder why our minds feel weak. We've built lives filled with everything except inner strength. You see, mental weakness doesn't happen overnight. It's not one failure. It's a slow decay. It's every time you let emotion dictate action. Every time you choose reaction over reflection. Every time you feed the fear that says, I can't handle this, until one day you start believing it. And that belief shapes your reality. You begin to lose. Not because life is unfair, but because your mind keeps surrendering before the battle even begins. Here's how the loop works. You face adversity. You feel fear. Instead of breathing through it, you panic. Instead of adapting, you escape. And when the next challenge comes, you're even weaker than before. It's not the world that defeats you. It's repetition. The repeated choice of ease over endurance. The repeated surrender of your power to emotion. That's the loop millions live in. They call it bad luck, but it's just undisciplined thinking. They call it destiny, but it's just habits. They call it pain, but it's just resistance doing its job. Because resistance isn't there to punish you. It's there to prepare you. When your body shakes under a heavy weight, that's not weakness. That's adaptation. When your heart breaks, that's not failure. That's expansion. When your mind screams that you can't go on, that's the threshold of growth. But most people step back when they should step through. They choose the illusion of safety and call it peace. They don't realize peace doesn't come from escaping life. It comes from mastering it. So, here you are. You've been through things no one knows about. You faced storms that left scars invisible to the world. You've had nights where you didn't know if you'd make it, and yet you're still here, breathing, listening, searching. That means something. It means your story isn't over. It means your strength hasn't even been fully born yet, because the mind that survives is not the same as the mind that begins. You've spent enough time being your own enemy. Now, it's time to build the mind that will protect you, a mind that doesn't crumble under pressure, but sharpens through it, a mind that doesn't run from fear, but studies it, a mind that doesn't need validation, applause, or comfort to keep moving forward, because that's the real power, to walk through fire without begging for rain. But here's where most people fail. They wait for motivation to make them strong. They think they need to feel ready before they act. But motivation is fragile. It's a spark. Mental strength is fuel. It's not about waiting for the right mood. It's about training your mind to move even when your mood betrays you. It's the muscle you build through repetition, not inspiration. And it starts the moment you stop asking for the path to be easy and start asking for the strength to walk it, no matter how steep it gets. Because mental strength isn't something you read about. It's something you live. It's the quiet act of waking up after failure, the silent decision to keep showing up when no one claps, the unseen hours spent mastering yourself instead of the world. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not even visible most of the time, but it's what separates those who break once and stay broken from those who break 1,000 times and rise stronger every single time. That's where true victory begins. Not when life gets easier, but when your mind gets tougher. Not when circumstances change, But when you stop being ruled by them, because the world doesn't need you to be perfect, it needs you to be strong enough not to quit. And once you master that, you'll realize something extraordinary. You never really lose. You only learn. And that lesson is the seed of everything you've been looking for. But what if the real problem isn't losing? What if the real problem is how you see it? What if the moment you call defeat is actually just the first stage of transformation, an invitation to evolve, hidden inside the pain? You see, most people mistake the bruise for the end, when in truth, it's only the beginning. You can't become mentally strong if you only train in sunshine. Growth doesn't live in comfort. It's born in the tension between who you are and who you're meant to become. There's a strange paradox about strength. You don't find it by trying to be invincible. You find it by being willing to break and then refusing to stay broken. Every time you survive something that once terrified you, your threshold rises. Every time you stand up after failure, your belief in yourself expands. And every time you choose resilience over resentment, you become less fragile, less dependent on external things to feel whole. That's how you develop mental strength, not through affirmations, not through pretending everything's fine, but through reality, through facing the uncomfortable truth of your own limits and deciding they won't define you. There's a day for every person who changes when they say, "I'm done breaking the same way." And that sentence, that moment, is the beginning of everything. That's when the shift begins. Mental strength isn't about never losing again. It's about never losing the lesson, never losing yourself to pain, never losing your direction when life tries to spin you in circles. Because the truth is, you will fall again. You will fail again. You will be misunderstood, rejected, disappointed. But once your mind is trained, those moments stop being prisons. They become classrooms. Pain stops being punishment. It becomes information. Failure stops being identity. It becomes instruction. And that's the ultimate liberation, when nothing that happens outside of you can destroy what you've built inside. So how do you build that kind of mind? Let's walk the climb together, lesson by lesson, not theory, reality. Lesson 1, the discipline of thought. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror, brushing your teeth. Your reflection looks calm, but inside, your thoughts are already racing ahead. What if I fail today? What if I mess up again? You don't even realize it. But before the day starts, you've already surrendered control to fear. Your body's in the present, but your mind is living in a future that hasn't even happened yet. That's how most people live, not in the moment, but in the memory of pain or the anticipation of it. They spend their energy rehearsing failure instead of preparing for success. And the more they do it, the more their brain learns that worry equals safety. But it's a lie, because overthinking doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. Mental strength begins when you realize your thoughts are not commands. They're options. You can choose which ones to listen to. You can choose to feed the thoughts that make you strong and starve the ones that drain your energy. That's the discipline of thought. It's not easy. It's not quick. It's daily mental hygiene. Training your focus like an athlete trains muscle. Think of Kobe Bryant. He used to arrive at the gym hours before everyone else. Not because he loved suffering, but because he loved mastery. He knew the mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind. When you repeat the act of showing up, even when you don't feel like it, you're sending a signal to your brain. I control this, not emotion. Discipline rewires the brain's response to pressure, and over time, that consistency becomes your calm. You want to know the difference between the mentally strong and the emotionally fragile. It's not talent, it's repetition. The strong don't react. They rehearse. They've trained their mind to remain composed, Not because life got easier, but because they built the reflex of stability. You can do the same. Start with small moments when you feel anger rising. Pause when fear appears. Breathe when doubt screams. Listen, then act anyway. That's discipline, not perfection, not suppression, just consistent self-command. Each time you win that inner battle, your confidence multiplies silently, and soon you stop being the victim of your thoughts and start being their architect. But here's the thing. Discipline alone isn't enough, because you can be disciplined and still miserable if your focus is misplaced. That's where the second lesson comes in. Lesson 2. The power of focus. The mind is a lens. Whatever you focus on expands. Focus on what's wrong, and you'll drown in problems. Focus on what's possible, and your energy shifts towards solutions. We live in an age where attention is the new currency. Companies fight for your focus. Algorithms prey on your boredom. And somewhere between the notifications and the noise, you forget what really matters. Your goals become blurry. Your identity becomes fragmented. And suddenly, you're chasing 10 things, but finishing none. Mental strength means narrowing the beam. It means cutting through distraction like a laser until you see what's essential, because clarity creates peace, and peace is where true power lives. Take Michael Jordan, for example. He wasn't just the most skilled player, he was the most locked in. Before a game, reporters said his eyes would go empty, almost eerie. He'd enter what they called the zone. No noise, no crowd, no doubt, just pure, ruthless focus. That's the state of mental strength, when your mind becomes still and your purpose becomes loud. But focus isn't something you find. It's something you protect. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So if you say yes to distraction, you say no to mastery. If you say yes to comfort, you say no to growth. And if you say yes to fear, you say no to progress. Focus is the daily act of choosing your North Star and refusing to look away. There's a story about Elon Musk in the early SpaceX days. When his rockets kept exploding, reporters mocked him, investors fled. But while the world saw failure, he saw iteration. He wasn't obsessed with the explosion. He was obsessed with the next launch. That's focus. That's mental strength. To look chaos in the eye and still say, I'm not done. You can apply that in your own life. When something collapses, your job, your relationship, your dream, ask yourself, where is my focus now? If it's on blame, you'll burn out. If it's on control, you'll grow. The strong don't waste time wishing things were easier. They use that same time to become better. But focus isn't just about goals. It's about inner alignment. If your mind is scattered, your energy leaks. If your energy leaks, your potential never compounds. So, simplify. Be ruthless with your attention. Guard your peace like it's oxygen, because in the end, what you focus on is what you become. Now, once you master discipline and focus, something extraordinary happens. You start to feel less reactive. You start to detach from the noise. But there's another layer, deeper, subtler, harder to build, and that's emotional control. Lesson 3. Emotional control. Imagine you're standing in a storm. The rain is violent. The wind is screaming. Most people spend their lives trying to stop the storm, but the wise learn how to stand still within it. Emotional control isn't about denying how you feel. It's about directing how you respond. When you stop chasing peace and start creating it inside yourself, you begin to master the art of calm, because calm isn't the absence of chaos. It's the ability to remain centered in spite of it. Think of Serena Williams. When she's on the court, she's not emotionless. She's composed. Every point, every setback, every call, she processes it, then moves forward. She doesn't feed emotion. She channels it. That's power. That's mastery. Because emotion, uncontrolled, is a weapon turned inward, but emotion, refined, becomes fuel. When you're angry, breathe. When you're afraid, observe. When you're anxious, focus on what's in your control. You'll notice something miraculous. Emotion loses its grip the moment you stop resisting it. Like waves, they crash harder when you fight them, but soften when you float. Most people let emotions dictate their day. They wake up happy if something good happens, sad if something bad does. They live like leaves, blown by every wind. But mental strength turns you into the tree, rooted, balanced, unshaken. No matter what storm passes, you bend, but you don't break. There's an ancient saying, the man who conquers himself is greater than the one who conquers 1,000 armies, because external victory is temporary, but internal mastery, it lasts forever. When you can stay calm while others panic, when you can stay grounded while the world shakes, when you can stay kind when anger would be easier, that's when you've won the game no one talks about, the game of self. And yet, there's one more layer, perhaps the hardest of all, the mindset that ties everything together, perspective. Because no matter how disciplined, focused, or composed you become, if your view of life is narrow, you'll still suffer. Perspective is the bridge between struggle and peace. It's what allows you to look at pain and see purpose. It's what helps you look at loss and see growth. It's what transforms why me into thank you for the lesson. And that shift, that's the real armor. Perspective changes everything. It's the lens that determines whether life feels like a burden or a battle worth fighting. Most people think strength is about endurance alone, about pushing through, but real strength is also about how you interpret the pain you endure, because how you see pain determines how long it controls you. Two people can live the same event, lose the same job, face the same rejection, endure the same heartbreak. One falls apart, the other rebuilds. What's the difference? It's not the event itself. It's the meaning they assign to it. Pain without perspective becomes suffering. Pain with perspective becomes fuel. Because once you give your pain a purpose, it can't own you anymore. It becomes part of your evolution instead of your destruction. Think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison. He could have spent that time consumed by rage, by loss, by the endless question of why me. But he used it. He turned pain into preparation. He sharpened his patience. He studied his enemies. He built an unbreakable philosophy. So when he finally stepped out, he didn't just walk free. He walked ready. That's the difference perspective makes. When you learn to reframe your story, you begin to see how every heartbreak built your empathy, how every failure refined your character, how every delay was actually protection. The mind that's trained in perspective stops seeing setbacks as signs to quit and starts seeing them as signals to grow. So if you're listening right now and life feels unfair, if it feels like everything you worked for is slipping away, remember this: you are not being punished. You are being prepared to handle more, prepared to become more, prepared to see that the version of you who breaks today isn't dying. She's evolving. But let's be honest, it's not always easy to see that when the storm hits, because there comes a moment, a dark one, when perspective fades and you're left standing in the middle of your own chaos. The storm, it doesn't warn you when it's coming. It doesn't care how much you've trained, how many times you've rebuilt. It arrives suddenly, a phone call, a betrayal, a collapse of something you thought was safe, and in seconds, your peace is gone. You try to remember all the lessons, discipline, focus, emotional control, perspective, but your hands are shaking, your chest feels heavy, your mind spirals, and the voice returns, the same one from the beginning. I can't do this anymore. You tell yourself to breathe, but the air feels thick. You tell yourself it's temporary, but time moves like molasses. You tell yourself to be strong, but what if you're tired of being strong? What if you just want to break from holding it all together? That's the storm. It's not external, it's internal. It's not the event. It's your inner resistance, screaming. It's your mind trying to protect you from pain by convincing you to quit, because that's what weakness sounds like. It doesn't yell, it whispers, in the tone of reason. It's not worth it. Just let it go. Why? Keep fighting. And in that silence, your strength is tested, not when people are watching, not when things are going well, but when everything inside you wants to give up, and you still find the courage to whisper back, not today. That's the real battle of life. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting with courage, despite fear. It's not about being invulnerable. It's about choosing movement, even when you're breaking. You don't need to roar to be strong. Sometimes mental strength is quiet. It's the calm decision to stand up one more time, even if you're trembling. You want to know what separates the greats from the rest. It's not that they never fall apart. It's that they don't stay there. They give themselves a moment, maybe even a night, but then they rise, because they know that pain is a guest, not a resident, and as long as they keep the door open, it will leave. There's a story of a climber caught in a snowstorm on Everest. He lost his oxygen, his team, his direction. The cold bit into his skin like glass. Every step forward felt like suicide, but in that white void of pain, a single thought saved him. If I can take one more step, I'm still alive. So he did one more, then another, until somehow, against all odds, he made it to camp. Not because he wasn't broken, but because he refused to stop moving. That's the essence of mental strength. Not perfection, not the absence of pain, but persistence through it. It's knowing that you might not win today. You might not even stand tall, but you can move, you can breathe, you can endure, and as long as you do, you haven't lost. Because losing isn't what happens to you. It's what you accept. You lose when you surrender your perspective. You lose when you let the voice of doubt rewrite your destiny. You lose when you stop believing that your comeback is still possible. And if you haven't stopped believing, then no matter how far you've fallen, you are still in the fight. Maybe your storm looks like heartbreak. Maybe it's financial ruin. Maybe it's failure, rejection, or just the quiet ache of feeling invisible. It doesn't matter, because storms don't discriminate. But they also don't last forever. And you are not made of glass. You are forged of the same fire that burns in every soul who refuse to surrender. There's something extraordinary that happens in the middle of the storm. A strange peace hides beneath the chaos, but you can only feel it when you stop fighting the wind, when you stop screaming for control and start listening to what the storm is trying to teach you. That's when you realize it's not here to destroy you. It's here to strip away what's not real, the illusions, the ego, the fear, the need to prove yourself, so that what remains is you. And that's the paradox. The storm that tries to break you is often the same one that frees you, because the moment you survive it, you stop fearing the next one. You stop doubting your own strength. You start trusting that no matter what comes, you will find your footing again. And that trust, that quiet, unshakable faith, in your own resilience is what turns pain into power. It's what turns struggle into serenity. It's what allows you to walk through life, not begging for it to be easier, but being grateful that you became stronger. This is the point in the journey where most people misunderstand victory. They think victory is applause, or success, or wealth, or status. But no, real victory is invisible. It's the moment you look at the chaos and realize it no longer controls you. It's the moment you face the pain that used to break you and feel calm. It's when you understand that the war you were fighting was never out there. It was always in here. That's mental strength, not arrogance, not dominance, but quiet mastery, the ability to move through life unshaken because you've stopped measuring yourself by outcomes. You've started measuring yourself by endurance, by integrity, by peace. And here's the irony. When you stop needing to win, you start winning, because now life can't manipulate you. It can't threaten you with loss because you no longer fear it. You've already faced it. You've already survived it. And what's left in you is something no storm can touch. And then, one day, the storm is gone. No lightning, no thunder, just silence. You wake up, and the air feels different. It's not lighter, but it's clearer. You look at the same world that once made you tremble, and you realize it didn't change. You did. The noise of life is still there. People still misunderstand you. Plans still fall apart. But somehow, you don't shatter anymore. You bend. You breathe. You adjust. There's a stillness in your chest now. The kind that doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from understanding. The kind that whispers, I can handle this. That's the quiet victory. The one no one sees. No medals. No fanfare. No spotlight. Just you. You're built from the inside out. The world keeps spinning, but you're no longer spinning with it. You start to notice the small things again. The sound of rain on your window. The way sunlight hits your coffee in the morning. The laughter of strangers. Things that once felt invisible now feel profound, because when your mind stops fighting reality, it starts embracing it. That's what mental strength really is. Not dominance over life, but harmony with it. The ability to move with the current, not against it. To act with intention, not reaction. To find peace, not in the absence of chaos, but in the presence of calm. It's not that pain stops coming. It never will. But now, you meet it differently. When it knocks, you no longer flinch. You open the door, look it in the eyes, and say, I know you. Come in. Let's see what you have to teach me this time. The moment you stop resisting pain, you take away its power. You realize pain was never the enemy. It was the messenger. It showed you where you were weak. It revealed what still needed healing. It pointed toward the places in yourself that were still afraid of living fully. And so, instead of hiding from discomfort, you start to walk toward it, not recklessly, but courageously, because you understand now that your comfort zone was never built to protect you. It was built to contain you, and breaking out of it hurts, but so does staying small. That's the paradox of growth. Every victory costs something. You lose old beliefs, old versions of yourself, sometimes even old people. But what you gain is irreplaceable. A self that no longer crumbles under pressure, a mind that no longer collapses under fear, a heart that beats with quiet certainty, no matter how loud the world becomes. And from that place, you stop needing to prove anything to anyone. You don't chase validation because you finally understand. It was never missing. It was just buried under layers of doubt, waiting for you to find it again. You stop explaining yourself to people who only hear what they want to hear. You stop defending your boundaries to those who cross them out of habit. You stop wasting energy on battles that don't matter because you realize peace isn't found by winning arguments. It's found by walking away from the noise. The strong don't fight every war. They fight the right ones. They conserve their energy for purpose, not for pride. And that's what you've learned. You've learned that real strength is not force. It's focus. It's knowing when to act and when to let go. It's knowing that sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom. So now, when you face challenges, you meet them with a different posture. You don't beg for life to be kind. You prepare to be capable. You don't ask for smaller storms. You build a stronger sail. You don't hope for control. You practice acceptance because you understand that strength isn't in conquering the world. It's in conquering the mind that perceives it. And one day, you'll look back. You'll remember the nights that almost broke you, the moments that made you doubt your worth, the storms that made you question if you could survive. And you'll realize they didn't just test you, they built you. Every sleepless night taught you endurance. Every rejection taught you detachment. Every failure taught you humility. Every heartbreak taught you self-respect. Every collapse forced you to rise with a stronger foundation. That's how mental strength is born, from the ashes of who you used to be. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you," because now you understand. Without those falls, you'd still be fragile. Without those storms, you'd still be untested. And without those losses, you'd never have discovered the kind of power that can't be taken away. The people who once doubted you will see the same face, but they won't recognize the same spirit, because you've changed silently, deeply, permanently. You've stopped reacting. You've started responding. You've stopped chasing. You've started creating. You've stopped fearing failure, because you know it's just a phase in progress. Now you live differently. You move with intention. You listen more than you speak. You act without rushing. You trust the process. And when life throws its next test, you don't panic. You smile slightly, because you know this dance by heart. Now, you no longer ask, "Will I win?" You ask, "What will I learn this time?" And that's how you never lose again, because losing isn't falling. It's refusing to rise, and you've already learned how to rise over and over, quietly, patiently, relentlessly. You've become unshakable, not because the world stopped hurting you, but because you stopped letting it define you. There's a line I once heard that stayed with me. You don't become strong by healing in peace. You become strong by learning how to heal in chaos. And that's what you've done. You've learned to find calm inside the storm. You've learned to turn pressure into purpose. And you've learned that the greatest victory isn't escaping life. It's embracing it completely, with all its uncertainty, all its noise, all its beauty. When you finally reach that level of peace, you stop comparing. You stop rushing. You stop needing to prove your worth through success, because you've realized something rare. That real power is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It just is. And when you live from that place, every decision becomes lighter. Every challenge becomes manageable. And every day feels like another step toward mastery. So when life hits again, and it will, you'll feel the impact, but not the destruction. You'll bend, but you won't break. You'll stumble, but you won't stay down, because you've built something unshakable inside you, a strength that doesn't depend on the world's kindness, only on your own consistency. And one day, someone will look at you and ask, how do you stay so calm when everything's falling apart? You'll smile, not out of pride, but out of knowing, because you remember what it took. You remember the chaos, the tears, the nights of silence. You remember who you had to become to stand here, steady, unbothered, and clear. And you'll simply say, I stopped fighting the storm. I learned to move with it. That's it. That's the entire secret of mental strength. Not control, not denial, but harmony. To walk through chaos without losing your center. To face loss without losing your love for life. To fall, rise, fall again, and keep your heart open. That's how you never lose again. Because never losing isn't about being undefeated. It's about being unbroken. It's about knowing that every challenge is another chance to meet yourself more deeply. And once you understand that, life stops being something to survive and becomes something to master. So, the next time the voice returns, the one that whispers, I can't do this anymore, listen closely, because behind it, there's another voice, quieter, stronger, older, the one that's been with you all along, the one that says, yes, you can, you always could. That's you, the real you, the one that life tried to bury, but never could. And when you meet that version of yourself, the calm one, the grounded one, the unshakable one, you realize something beautiful. You never needed the world to believe in you. You just needed to start believing in yourself again. So now, stand taller, breathe deeper, move forward, quietly, fearlessly, knowing that no matter what happens next, you'll face it with a mind that bends but never breaks, a heart that feels but never surrenders, and a soul that's finally fully alive. Because you've learned the greatest truth of all. You don't need to control everything. You just need to master the one thing that controls everything, your mind. And once you do, you realize that life was never about avoiding loss. It was about learning how to rise after every fall, with grace, with faith, with power. That's how you develop mental strength, and that's how you never lose again. Echo the reminder, even when the world breaks you, you can rebuild stronger. Even when you lose, you can rise wiser. Even when the darkness stays too long, you can still choose light, because the mind, once trained to endure, no longer fears defeat. It transforms it. So remember this. You were never meant to live without storms. You were meant to learn how to dance in the rain. And that is how you become unbreakable.